Was I wrong to expose my ex-husband at our child's birthday party? I never intended to air our dirty laundry in front of 50 party guests, but when he started screaming at me in front of our kids again, something inside me finally snapped. I never wanted to be the kind of woman who aired her dirty laundry in public. My mother raised me better than that. She taught me that family business stays within family walls, that grace under pressure is the mark of true character, and that taking the high road, even when it feels impossible, is always the right choice. For 2 years, I clung to those lessons like a lifeline, even as they slowly drowned me in a sea of judgment and misunderstanding. But there is only so much a person can take before the weight of silence becomes heavier than the consequences of speaking up. This is the story of how I became the villain in my own life without saying a single word in my defense, and what happened when I finally could not stay quiet anymore. The trouble started long before the birthday party incident, back when my ex-husband and I were still trying to navigate the wreckage of our marriage. We have 4 children together, our oldest son, who just turned 12, the twins who are 9, and our youngest daughter, who is 6. They are my entire world, the reason I get up every morning, and the reason I have tried so hard to keep the peace with a man who seems determined to make my life as difficult as possible. My ex-husband and I divorced in late 2023. It was not a pleasant process. Nothing about our relationship had been pleasant for the last several years of our marriage, if I am being honest. We fought about everything: money, parenting styles, household responsibilities, his mother's constant interference, my desire to go back to school. The man who had once made me laugh until my sides hurt had become a stranger who looked at me with barely concealed contempt. The divorce decree was clear about our custody arrangement. We have week-on, week-off custody, alternating holidays, and a specific schedule that was supposed to provide stability for the kids. The judge emphasized the importance of respecting each other's parenting time and not using the children as pawns in our ongoing conflicts. My ex-husband agreed to everything in court. He nodded solemnly when the judge spoke about cooperation and co-parenting. He signed every document with a flourish that suggested he was ready to move forward maturely. That lasted approximately 2 weeks. The real version of him, the one I had lived with for 13 years, emerged quickly. He began treating the custody schedule like a suggestion rather than a court order. He would text me hours before his time ended, saying he had to work late or had plans, and could I please take the kids early. When I had plans during my own parenting time and asked for similar flexibility, suddenly the schedule was sacred and non-negotiable. He started making major decisions about the children without consulting me, despite the fact that we have joint legal custody. He enrolled our oldest in a travel baseball league that required commitments during both our parenting times without asking me. He took our youngest daughter to get her ears pierced during his weekend, something we had previously agreed to wait on. When I objected, he accused me of being controlling and unable to let go of the marriage. The irony was not lost on me. The man who had spent the last 3 years of our marriage complaining that I was too independent, too focused on my own goals, too unwilling to simply go along with what he wanted, was now accusing me of being unable to move on. But I tried. I really did. I bit my tongue so many times I am surprised I have any tongue left. I reminded myself that the children needed to see their parents being civil. I told myself that eventually we would find our rhythm, that the anger and hurt would fade, and we would figure out how to be effective co-parents even if we could never be friends. Then he met someone new. I have no problem with my ex-husband dating. I was actually relieved when he started seeing someone seriously, because I hoped it would help him move forward and stop fixating on our failed marriage. His new girlfriend seemed nice enough from the few brief interactions we had during kid exchanges. She was younger than me by about 8 years, worked as a dental hygienist, and had a bright smile and an enthusiasm that I found both endearing and slightly exhausting. The kids liked her, which was the most important thing. They came home from their father's house talking about how she made really good pancakes and knew all the words to their favorite songs and had a cat that liked to sleep on people's heads. I was genuinely happy for them. If my ex-husband had found someone who made him happy and was good to my children, that was a win in my book. Then came the announcement. It was July of 2023, during what should have been my parenting week. I had planned for months to take the kids to my sister's place in Colorado for a family reunion. My grandmother, who had been battling cancer, had gone into remission, and we were gathering to celebrate. All my siblings would be there with their families, cousins the kids had not seen in years, and my grandmother specifically requested that I bring all 4 children. I had followed protocol. I had given my ex-husband written notice months in advance, as required by our decree. I had texted him, emailed him, and even brought it up during a pickup. He had acknowledged it every single time, even commenting once that it sounded like a good trip for the kids. 10 days before we were supposed to leave, he called me. The conversation started normally enough. He asked about the kids' summer activities, mentioned that our oldest had hit a home run at practice, small talk that felt almost friendly. Then he dropped the bomb. He was getting married. I was folding laundry when he said it, and I remember dropping one of our daughter's shirts in surprise. I congratulated him, told him I was happy for him. Then he told me the wedding was next Saturday. I felt the first flutter of unease in my stomach. Next Saturday. That was my weekend. That was when we would be in Colorado. He knew about the trip, he acknowledged, but this was his wedding. The kids needed to be there for their father's wedding. Surely I understood that. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. wedding. He had known about the Colorado trip for months. I had given him notice as required by the decree. I had plane tickets purchased. My grandmother was expecting us. My whole family was planning around having the kids there. He was sure my family would understand. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event, his wedding day. So was my grandmother's cancer remission celebration, I reminded him. She had specifically asked for all her great-grandchildren to be there. She had been through hell this year. His voice took on that edge I knew so well, the one that signaled he was about to become unreasonable. Was I saying I would not let his children attend his wedding because of a party? It was not a party, I explained. It was a family reunion that had been planned for months, that he was fully aware of and approved. He never approved of the kids missing his wedding, he insisted. He had not told me about his wedding until 10 days before. What did he expect me to do? He expected me to be reasonable and put the kids' best interests first. They should be at their father's wedding. What was he supposed to tell them? That their mother said no? And there it was. The manipulation tactic he had perfected during our marriage. Make it about the kids. Make me the bad guy. Put me in a position where any choice I make looks selfish. We went back and forth for 30 minutes. He refused to consider changing the wedding date, despite the fact that they were planning a small ceremony and had not even sent out invitations yet. He refused to acknowledge that he had known about the Colorado trip and had given me permission to take the kids out of state during my parenting time. He just kept repeating that the kids needed to be at his wedding and I was being bitter and unable to let go. Finally, exhausted and knowing I could not win, I agreed. They could go to his wedding, but he had to have them back to me by 6 in the evening at the latest. We had an early flight Sunday morning and I had to pack with them and get everything ready. He absolutely could not be late. Of course he promised. He would have them back by 6. He promised. I should have known better than to trust that promise. Saturday arrived. I had packed most of what the kids would need for Colorado, leaving out just their toiletries and the clothes they would wear on the plane. I had confirmed our flights, arranged for someone to watch our dog, and coordinated with my sister about when we would arrive. Everything was set. The kids left for their father's house on Friday afternoon, excited about the wedding. Our oldest daughter had talked for days about her flower girl dress. Our son was trying to act too cool to care, but I could tell he was pleased to be included in something important. Even our youngest, who usually cried at drop-offs, went happily, chattering about how she was going to see her father marry his girlfriend. 6 in the evening Saturday came and went. No ex-husband, no kids. I texted him at 6:15. No response. I called at 6:30. It went to voicemail. By 7, I was pacing my living room, anxiety building. I needed the kids back. We had a 6 in the morning flight. I still had to help them pack their personal items, make sure they had all their medications, verify that we had all their comfort items for the plane. I texted again, called again, nothing. At 7:30, I checked his social media, something I rarely did anymore because it usually just made me angry. There, posted 20 minutes earlier, was a photo of him and his groomsmen at what was clearly a bar. The caption read, "Bachelor party. Better late than never." Bachelor party. He was at his bachelor party on the night of his wedding, when he was supposed to have returned my children over an hour ago. I felt something crack inside me. The careful control I had maintained, the determination to be reasonable and flexible, and put the kids first. All of it shattered in that moment. I called 6 more times. I texted increasingly frantic messages. I even tried calling his new wife, but I did not have her number and she did not appear to be tagged in any recent photos. At 8:30, I made a decision. I got in my car and drove to his house, which was dark and empty. Then I drove to the venue where the wedding had taken place, hoping someone might still be there. The parking lot was empty except for a catering van that was loading up equipment. I went home and tried calling again. Still nothing. At 9 in the evening, I called my sister and told her what was happening. We might not make the flight, I said, fighting back tears of frustration and rage. He had them and he was not answering. My sister reminded me that the reunion started tomorrow. Our grandmother was asking about us. Everyone was asking. I knew. I was so sorry. At 9:30, my ex-husband finally texted back, "Sorry, just saw your messages. At party. We'll have kids back tomorrow morning." Tomorrow morning. Not tonight. Tomorrow morning. When we had a 6 in the morning flight. I called him immediately. This time he answered, and I could hear loud music and laughter in the background. I reminded him that he promised to have them back by 6. We had a flight in less than 9 hours. Yeah, sorry, things ran late. He would have them back by 8 tomorrow. That should give me plenty of time. Our flight was at 6 in the morning. 6 in the morning. I had told him this. He had promised 6 in the evening today. Well, he could not exactly leave his own wedding reception early, could he? That would be rude to his new wife and their guests. He had them for his wedding. That was the deal. He got them for the wedding. I got them back in time for our trip. Sorry, I was breaking up. He would get them back when he could tomorrow. He hung up. I tried calling back. He had turned off his phone. I sat in my living room, shaking with anger and indecision. I could wait until morning and hope he actually returned them by 8, which would mean missing our flight, rebooking for later, and possibly missing the first day of the reunion. Or I could do what every instinct instinct was screaming at me to do. I called his parents. His mother answered, sounding tired. It was late. Was everything okay? I needed to know where their son had taken the kids after the wedding. He would not answer his phone, and he was supposed to have them back to me hours ago. There was a pause. He had left them with his parents after the reception. Said he and his new wife were going out with friends and would pick them up tomorrow. Were they asleep? They had just gone down about 20 minutes ago. I was coming to get them. It was almost 10 at night. Could this not wait until morning? No, it could not. We had a flight at 6 in the morning that he was fully aware of. I needed them tonight so I could pack with them and get everyone ready. I was leaving in 5 minutes. Please have them ready. To her credit, she did not argue further. She woke the kids, helped them gather their things, and had them ready when I arrived. They were confused and sleepy, but they hugged me and climbed into the car without protest. We got home after 11 at night. I stayed up until 2 in the morning helping them pack, getting everything organized, making sure we had everything we needed. We made our 6 in the morning flight by the skin of our teeth. The kids slept most of the way to Colorado. The reunion was wonderful. My grandmother cried when she saw all her great-grandchildren together. We hiked and swam and roasted marshmallows, and for a few days, I forgot about my ex-husband and his broken promises. When we returned, there were 17 missed calls and 32 text messages waiting for me, all from him, all furious. The kids had missed the wedding. Because I had picked them up from his parents' house on the night of his wedding, they had not been there for the ceremony. They had been at the reception for a little while, but not for the actual vows, not for the important part. He called me every name in the book. He accused me of being vindictive and bitter. He said I had deliberately sabotaged his special day because I could not stand to see him happy. He told the kids I had kept them from an important family event because I was jealous, and I said nothing in my defense. I did not tell our friends what really happened. I did not post on social media about his broken promise or his bachelor party or how he had left our children with his parents so he could go drinking. I did not tell his new wife that her husband had been so busy partying that he could not be bothered to return a phone call. I just took the heat, absorbed the criticism, and told myself that eventually the truth would not matter anymore. For 2 years, I carried that burden. People in our social circle, people who had known both of us during our marriage, began treating me differently. I could see the judgment in their eyes. I heard the whispers at school events and sports games. There goes the bitter ex-wife who ruined her ex-husband's wedding because she could not move on. I got married last spring to a wonderful man. We had been dating for a year, and he had been patient and understanding through all the drama with my ex-husband. He was good to my kids, respectful of my time with them, and never tried to replace their father. I planned our wedding meticulously. I made absolutely certain it fell during my parenting time and would not interfere with any of my ex-husband's weekends. I gave him more notice than required. I made sure the kids could be fully involved in every aspect they wanted to be part of. My ex-husband still tried to interfere. He suddenly needed to take our oldest son to a baseball tournament that same weekend, one that had not been on the schedule before. He claimed our twins had been invited to a birthday party they could not miss. He told our youngest daughter that her mother was being selfish by getting married during his time with them, even though it was not his time. I held firm. For once, I did not bend. The kids were with me, it was my parenting time, and they were going to be at my wedding. And they were. All 4 of them, dressed beautifully, smiling in every photo. Our daughters were flower girls. Our oldest son walked me down the aisle because he asked if he could, which made me cry happy tears. Our other son was the ring bearer and took his job very seriously. It was a perfect day. A few weeks later, we held a birthday party for the twins at a community center. We had invited family, friends, kids from school, the usual crowd for a 9th birthday celebration. My ex-husband showed up with his wife, which was fine. We had both agreed to be there, to show the kids that we could coexist peacefully for their sake. Our twins were showing off their outfits from my wedding to some of their cousins who had not been able to attend. They were so proud, twirling in their remembered fancy clothes, explaining who stood where and how pretty everything was. My ex-husband saw them. His face darkened immediately. He strode over to where I was setting out pizza and grabbed my arm. We needed to talk, now. I pulled my arm away from his grip. We were at our children's birthday party. Whatever it was could wait. No, it could not wait. He was sick of this. He was sick of me making him look bad. His wife appeared at his elbow, looking confused and uncomfortable. Maybe they should just enjoy the party and talk about this later. He ignored her, his voice rising. The kids had missed his wedding, but they got to go to mine. How was that fair? How was that anything except me being bitter and vindictive? People were starting to stare. The kids had stopped talking and were watching their father with wide, worried eyes. I told him to lower his voice. This was not the time or place. No, he thought it was exactly the time and place. Everyone here needed to know what kind of person I really was. I had sabotaged his wedding because I could not stand to see him move on. I took our kids away from the most important day of his life because I was jealous and petty. Something inside me broke. Maybe it was the unfairness of being blamed for his own actions for 2 years. Maybe it was the way he was embarrassing our children at their own birthday party. Maybe I was just tired of being the villain in a story I had not written. I asked if he wanted to do this now. Fine, let me tell everyone exactly what happened at his wedding. My new husband said softly, appearing at my side, that I did not have to do this. But I did. I really did. I turned to face the room. where at least 30 people had stopped what they were doing to watch our confrontation. My ex-husband claimed I sabotaged his wedding. Here was what actually happened. He told me about his wedding 10 days before it was scheduled to happen. I had already planned, with months of notice that he had approved, to take the kids to Colorado for a family reunion during my parenting time. When I reminded him of this, he insisted the kids had to be at his wedding. I agreed, with one condition, that he have them back to me by 6 in the evening so I could pack with them for our early flight the next morning. He promised he would. Then he went to a bachelor party after his wedding, ignored all my calls and texts, and told me at 9:30 at night that he would not return them until the next morning, which would have made us miss our flight. So I picked them up from his parents' house, where he had left them so he could go drinking. The kids missed his ceremony because he broke his promise and left them with his parents. They were at the reception. They just were not there for the vows, because their father was too busy partying to care about honoring his agreement with me. The room was silent, completely, utterly silent. My ex-husband's face had gone from red to white. That was not how it happened. That was exactly how it happened, and he knew it. I had text messages. I had the social media posts of him at the bachelor party. I had the call logs showing 17 attempts to reach him. His wife was staring at her husband with an expression I could not quite read. He had told her I just took them. He said I grabbed them from the reception because I could not stand that they were getting married. One of his friends spoke up, looking uncomfortable. He did not know any of this. My ex-husband had made it sound like I kidnapped them out of spite. My ex-husband turned on me with such fury that my new husband stepped between us. I had no right to tell everyone that. That was private. He made it public. He had been telling everyone his version of events for 2 years. He brought it up here at our children's birthday party, in front of all these people. I was just making sure they had the whole truth. He called me vindictive and cruel. I told him I was tired. I was tired of being painted as the bad guy for his choices. I was tired of him manipulating situations and then blaming me when things did not go his way. I was tired of our kids hearing that their mother was bitter and jealous when all I had ever tried to do was protect them and maintain some semblance of stability. He stared at me for a long moment, then grabbed his wife's hand. They were leaving. They walked out of the party. The twins started crying. Our oldest son looked furious. Our youngest daughter ran to me and buried her face in my legs. The rest of the party was subdued. People tried to rally, singing happy birthday and cutting cake, but the joy had gone out of the celebration. I felt sick to my stomach, wondering if I had just made everything infinitely worse. That night, his wife called me. Why had I never told her the full story? She asked. She did not sound angry, just tired and sad. It was not my place to interfere in her marriage, I explained, but I let her think I was this bitter ex-wife for 2 years. I did not want to be the person who badmouthed my children's father to his new wife. I thought taking the high road was the right thing to do. The high road, she repeated softly. There was taking the high road, and then there was letting someone rewrite history. Her husband had told her a completely different story. He made me sound unstable and vindictive. He used that story to justify so many things. All this time, she thought I was the problem. I was sorry, I should have said something. Yes, I should have, but she also understood why I did not. We talked for almost an hour. She asked questions. I gave her honest answers. By the end of the conversation, she was crying. Since that birthday party 3 months ago, things have been complicated. My ex-husband is furious with me and has started pushing for modifications to our custody arrangement, claiming I am trying to alienate him from the children. His lawyer sent a letter accusing me of defamation. Some of his friends have stopped speaking to me entirely, saying I should have kept quiet regardless of what actually happened. But other things have changed too. His wife left him. She told me she realized that the wedding incident was just one example of a pattern of manipulation and dishonesty. Some of our mutual friends reached out to apologize for judging me without knowing the full story. And the kids, while confused by all the upheaval, seem relieved that they no longer have to navigate 2 completely different narratives about what happened. I still do not know if I did the right thing. I lie awake some nights wondering if I should have continued to stay silent, if exposing the truth at a children's birthday party was cruel and inappropriate, if I have made co-parenting even more difficult than it already was. But I also know that I could not carry that weight anymore. I could not keep letting my children hear that their mother was bitter and jealous and vindictive. I could not keep absorbing blame for someone else's choices. My new husband tells me I was brave. My sister says I was justified. My therapist says I was human. I think maybe I was all of those things, and maybe I was also a little bit selfish, and maybe that has to be okay. Because here is what I have learned. Taking the high road is admirable, but sometimes the high road leads you so far above the truth that no one can see what really happened. Sometimes protecting someone from the consequences of their actions just enables them to keep hurting people. And sometimes staying silent makes you complicit in the lies being told about you. I still believe in grace. I still believe in putting my children first. I still believe in trying to co-parent effectively despite our differences. But I also believe that I have a right to defend myself, to tell my own story, to refuse to be the villain in someone else's narrative. Was making our private matter public the right choice? I honestly do not know. What I do know is that it was the choice I made when I had finally reached my limit, when I could not carry the burden of his lies anymore, when I had to choose between protecting his image and protecting my own own truth. And if that makes me the villain in his story, I think I can live with that. Because in my story, I am just a woman who finally learned that sometimes the truth matters more than the peace, and that defending yourself is not the same thing as being vindictive. I am just a woman who got tired of being blamed for someone else's broken promises. And honestly, I think that is okay.